like a dollar.
Are you operating under an
Yeah,
assumption
yeah.
A
tonight?
bunch of those on his, with his
Hello.
money.
Okay, oh, with his money.
And if anyone would pay, I'd probably be turned into it.
Hi there,
So,
how are
Elaine,
you?
you cannot feign incompetence
I,
as a
uh,
way to justify your ignorance.
I have a twin
yes.
account on Twin Spires for horse racing.
Oh, yeah.
Thing, so I do that.
So do you know horses?
No, not like, not Saturday.
No.
Not Saturday. No, but before they closed Arlington, a few times a year.
We went, 3 years in a row we went every Mother's Day. It was so fun.
Yeah.
Like it was
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Hello.
Thanks for the water.
Thank you.
All right, short timer.
Hey, Hill.
A lot of attachments.
Oh,
Trying to find my cloud point estimate. Get through all the LC stuff. They might be.
Okay. Unfortunately, total just wonderful. 2 years later, we just got something for this school. His salary is so incredible.
Clean up and stuff.
For this and this, I'm like,
the invite.
that's like, I wanted to, like,
It's a great idea, though.
I'm sure there's ways that people can make it. We got to see this at least.
You know how to like check mark a page, do you? Mark it. In the teens?
But it was his
Scroll.
Totally.
That's why they're.
Yeah, that's a
But
good,
it's just like,
good question, actually. Maybe get that answered for next time. I tend to like take a picture of it, or I have my own.
but it was. We're almost at the 2-year mark, and we can. And I was bitter about the car.
Yeah, and now there's more trouble.
Okay, so are we having another meeting on it?
Yeah.
On what?
On the 20th?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Like, let's do it. Tell me where to go.
I mean, May 20th.
Is one, July is one, and August
we do
one,
have
May
one.
is
Take
two.
advantage of my position here.
Oh, hey Heidi.
I can't
I would say instead of regular on that thing, you might want to say combined workshop and special meeting,
yeah.
instead of the word regular.
I don't know if I always do that though, but yes, just
This one is a combined
In
workshop.
Lexington?
okay.
I was not, but I left some money there.
Left somebody.
More than Louisville.
You
I
had the
guess.
wrong note.
Yeah, I didn't have the right words. Horses.
What, were you close? Were you at least able to cheer for someone?
No.
Phil isn't gonna be here tonight, so Jim is
Had a
reporting.
bad break.
Okay.
His daughter got hurt there.
Got her where?
She fell and hit her head and had to go to surgery yesterday. But he said it went well.
Where did she fall? Like, oh my God.
They reached out in advance, so it's pretty awesome.
Okay.
He's not coming.
Oh, he's not there.
No.
Let's see.
No, he's not doing that.
6:59.
Right? That's what I was gonna say. I don't even
Yeah.
think they're in junior high yet, aren't they? All at grade school.
Out of breath.
But he-
Going on a lot on Mondays.
Mm-hmm. It's a long day.
I'm so excited. I have no report tonight. Yeah.
Okay, so Phil's not gonna be here? Everybody ready? All right. All right, good evening. Welcome to this May 6th, 2024 Combined Workshop and Special Meeting of the Village of Western Springs Village Board of Trustees. To honor our nation's heroes, and especially to honor the individuals who serve and protect our community, please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Timick, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Vacan.
Aye.
Trustee Chen.
Here.
Trustee Fink.
Here.
Trustee Lewis.
Here.
Trustee Naraki. Trustee Terrell.
Here.
One absent.
Thank you very much. All right, we will move on then in our agenda to citizen comments, but I first also want to welcome, I think, Troop 12, correct? Yeah. Thank you for joining us tonight. Feel free to ask questions at the end. We're happy to come up and talk to you and explain maybe what you've heard throughout the night. So thanks for joining us. All right, with that, any citizen comments? Please. Can you just please give us your name?
Yeah. Might use this? Oh, okay. Chris Piesco, 202 Rougeley Road. Thanks for letting me speak today. My wife and I have lived in a house for over 30 years, backing up to the LT South campus. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yeah.
We think these plans are good for the school overall, and we always support any actions that improve educating our neighborhood children. Our only issue has been with the noise and appearance of the existing cooling towers, and now the proposed addition of a third cooling tower. We have gone from one cooling tower was completely screened and shielded from the noise to two towers with no noise shielding and very little screening. Before I go on, I want to thank the village staff and especially Heather Vallone, who's put up with my voicemails and emails and stuff like that. Thanks, Heather. And also, I want to thank the Plan Commission members for listening to our concerns and recommending changes to LT's original proposal at their meeting in March. We appreciate the changes that have been made since then and what was originally proposed, and which involved very minimal noise mitigation and screening. And I hope you can understand that the issue of sound, noise, decibels, EPA limits, the village code, etc., are difficult to understand and follow to anyone unfamiliar with those areas. And please understand that these issues are and will affect us in our daily lives, and we take this very seriously. For these reasons, we hired a certified sound engineer to help us understand these issues and help us with recommendations. He did propose changes to what LT originally proposed. Since then, LT has made significant changes to the proposal, and I have some questions on it and the process going forward. And please understand that I just received this stuff at 4 p.m. on Friday and haven't had much time to deal with it, research, or review it. So all I can really do at this point is ask questions. I discussed the landscaping plans with Tom King, the village's landscape design firm, this morning, and he was very helpful. He stated that he would review the final detailed landscape plans from LT once it is complete. The only question I have is, will residents have a chance to see it as well before it is finalized? I also had questions on the noise impact study performed by Soundscape Engineering, which seemed very thorough. I did call them this AM, but I have not heard back from them. Was the modeling based on actual sound readings taken and the actual physical structures in the area? Why did they not recommend covering all of the intake and exhaust ports on all of the cooling towers? And are there periodic maintenance and requirements and the eventual replacement of these dampers in order for them to continue to be effective? And if so, how can we be sure that that all that happens properly? Will that be in the ordinance? I understand the board can answer these questions, and some of these things may be answered later on when the firm presents. I just want to understand the process that the village is going to use when they hire their own sound engineering firm, and will we have a chance to see that when that is done? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And yeah, we will have an update tonight, so thank you. Anyone else with any comments? Yeah. Okay. Any new business? Old business? All right, then we will move on to our agenda items for the workshop. We'll begin with some committee updates or outputs. We'll begin with the Finance Committee and Trustee Chen.
I have no report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Chen. Okay, General Government, Trustee Terrell.
Madam President, we had to postpone our general government committee meeting for lack of a quorum, and I will not be able to report out anything tonight.
Okay, very good, thank you. And then next would be planning and zoning, which would normally be trustee Naraki, but I believe trustee Terrell, you have a report.
Yes, I do. At the last workshop meeting on March 11th, the board reviewed the application from Lyons Township High School for modifications to their conditional use permit related to renovation. High school has been working on their plans to screen and address the acoustical impacts of the proposed cooling towers. The application was scheduled to be reviewed at the April 8th workshop meeting, but Lyons Township High School had not finalized the screening and the acoustical supplemental materials, which is why we are reviewing it tonight. Director Vallone is here to provide an overview of the supplemental materials, and representatives from the Lyons Township High School are here to answer questions. Director Vallone, can you please provide us with an overview?
Absolutely. So as Trustee Terrell mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and just give a overview of some of the submitted information. Then I'll let the high school, who is represented by Mr. Drake and their architect from DLA. And then I can answer some additional questions and go through the items that were brought up in public comment. So in your packet tonight, and I did print my memo on the dais for your viewing, LT has submitted a number of revised documents. The first was their staging and fencing proposal. This would be their construction plan, the areas that they're going to use while they have equipment in the area and to do staging. As indicated in the draft ordinance that's also included in your packet tonight, this will need to be finalized and then provided to the village before we'll issue a permit. As long as it's substantially conforming to the plan that's included in the approved ordinance, then it will just be reviewed by village staff. Any substantial changes would require a re-review by potentially the Plan Commission and the village board. Also, Lyons Township High School submitted an updating landscaping plan for the proposed cooling tower. So that is located on page 2 of the memo. It's the one that has the trees and also the star juniper on it. So the items that you see in black were the original proposal from the high school. They were going to screen the area directly adjacent to the fence and the cooling towers with star-powered junipers, which you can see included in the exhibit. And then they were going to include some featherweed grass that was also directly adjacent to that fence. They were also proposing 4 maple trees, roughly halfway, just under halfway between the cooling towers themselves and the residential properties that front on Rugeley. The village's consulting landscape architect reviewed the plan and made some changes based on the conversations that were had at Plan Commission, committee, and workshop. The village's consultant is proposing the items that you see in red on the memo. They are proposing to eliminate the featherweed grass as it may propose issues with debris getting into the cooling towers, and then some additional star juniper on the south side of the area. They're also proposing a staggered row of fast-growing large-scale evergreen trees, such as Norway spruces or white pines that would be almost directly on the property line to the south, the closest area for those residents that front on Rugeley. They're proposing this to ensure that there's year-round screening, as the maple trees that were proposed by the high school would drop their leaves during the winter months. Also, the staggering of them is proposed to also provide additional buffering, both visually and from a noise perspective. So the goals that Hitchcock was given to review this was to make sure that it was maintenance friendly. It was going to screen it visually as much as possible and also reduce any noise impacts so that it could. So then I'm going to direct you to page 3. The high school also engaged Soundscape Engineering to do a review of the proposed plans and make recommendations to ensure that the noise generated from cooling towers 2 and 3 do not exceed the village's code. So as you can see on the third page, Soundscape Engineering is proposing silencers on the discharge and intake for cooling towers 2 and 3. These towers are the ones that can generate the most noise and are the ones that are most concerned to potentially increase the noise. Cooling Tower 1 they reviewed, and based on distance and the additional items, did not need the intakes. So that's a general overview. A couple of items just to mention. The draft ordinance that's included in your packet does include the village having the sound engineering report once the towers are installed, reviewed and approved before we would complete any permit for the high school. So that would mean that the high school, after they install the cooling towers, the landscaping, and also the silencers, would need to produce a report back to us. They're meeting the noise standards, and our consulting sound engineer would review it, their findings, and ensure that they are correct before we would complete any final inspection for the permit. So as I mentioned, 2 representatives from the high school's team are here. If you have any questions at this point or any additional information, I think they are ready to speak. Or if you have any additional questions for me, I can take those as well.
I just had a quick question. After the permit is granted and the silencers come in and everything's running, are there procedural safeguards or apparatus that the village can monitor these cooling towers to make sure that they are still compliant with our code?
Sure, I'll start to answer this and then I'll let Attorney Jerusik kind of finish. Essentially, anything in the plan development ordinance, they are held to for the length of the time that the improvement is there. So the cooling towers, hypothetically, if there was some sort of natural disaster event that maybe impacted the silencers or the landscaping, they would be required to restore it to the approved plans that are included in their permit and then also in their ordinance. But I'll let Attorney Jerusik follow up on some information.
Yeah, we have a catch-all provision, subsection F, in the ordinance that states that the owner shall take all commercially reasonable actions in substantial conformance with the various attachments, the different sound reports and the specifications, manufacturer specifications on the cooling units and the muffler systems. So they're going to take all commercially reasonable efforts to comply and install and maintain the sound dampening improvements. In addition, any chain link fencing, landscaper, and buffering as part of these improvements, and that this will apply going forward. They've got to comply with state law, sound requirements, village code requirements, and there's no timetable. This sort of lives, kind of in, going forward. As long as these units are operating, they're going to be obligated to comply with applicable codes and regulations. And the commercially all reasonable actions is important. That means they have to do what it takes from a legal standpoint to spend whatever money is necessary to make sure they're complying with these sound and the buffering and landscape requirements of this ordinance.
Well, 5 years from now, if these things are very louder than they're supposed to be, we do have the ability to come to the school district and say, you've got to fix this, it's on your dime, and it's got to be within our noise level.
5 years from now, the landscaping hasn't been, maintained, needs to be upgraded or replaced. The muffler systems have past their useful life, need to be replaced. This subsection F, the catch-all provision we call it, will be the velvet hammer that the village can say, okay, you have to make these improvements, or you have to redress these things in order to continue to operate these units.
One other item that I should have caught. So the question was posed if additional plans will need to be reviewed. All of the plans as they're currently proposed, the Hitchcock design, the sound engineer, the plans provided for the high school, all of those will be included in the ordinance. If they are substantially met, no significant changes that change the character, the type, or anything of that nature, then it's just a review by village staff. If they make significant changes, anything that would change the character or no longer meet the code requirements, they would have to come back again before potentially plan commission, but at least village board.
I assume all these safeguards are what would make the neighbors happy? The dampeners and the...
This provision is the diffusion council.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
That's why it's there, sir. Yes.
I think the landscaping plan, it looks sufficient. It looks like a nice, I guess, enhancement over what we saw before, and just understanding kind of obviously things grow as fast as they're going to grow, but that these have been specifically selected as ones that tend to be faster growing and thus are creating kind of more of this natural screen, which my understanding is in a lot of cases, some of the, like, using foliage and things are a really effective screen, in addition to the mechanical things such as the silencers, but having those kind of trees will be very helpful. So it sounds like a great upgrade to the original plan.
As a mother of a student who is at South Campus and who experienced some hot temperatures, I know this will be a welcome upgrade. And also, I grew up on the corner of Harvey and Rugeley, so I spent a lot of my life riding my bike in between the inlet and by the old cooling system. So, and apologies, I haven't been in all of these meetings, but like, how much more capacity are you building in? You're going to be able to cool how much of the building of South Campus now?
You'll need to come up to the podium to use the microphone. Can you please just introduce yourself?
Sure, John Morowski with DLA Architects. After cooling tower 3 is installed, not including the gymnasium, I think 80% of LT South will be not cooled. This will handle all the new unit vents, the cafeteria, as well as the common space and the music room.
That's incredible. Yes, and I will say it's been always odd to me that it's located not on the roof or not like in an interior space of LT, that it is over as a side.
There's a basement in that area where the pipes come out.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's, yeah.
It's always been sort of interesting. And the field house is always has been cold these last few years. Is that managed by a different cooling system?
The field house and the aquatic center are rooftop units completely separate from the cooling towers. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good questions. Good point.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, so this is an update for tonight, so then the next steps, the timing, Director Malone?
Conversation tonight, staff and the village attorney will finalize the ordinance and put it on the agenda for May 20th.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for the update. Thank you. Okay, moving on to, I'm sorry, Trustee Terrell, there's nothing further from?
No further.
Okay. Okay, very good.
But
So,
I didn't know if the school had anything more to say. We'd only ask those pertinent questions.
okay.
Did you have anything more to say in your presentation, other than the questions that Trustee Chen asked? Are we have this buttoned up?
I think we're buttoned up.
Okay.
Yeah, images.
Okay, we've all had a chance to take a look at these in the pen. Okay,
Okay,
I have nothing further.
okay, thank you very much. Okay, Properties and Rec, Trustee Avakian.
Thank you, President Rudolph. Attached for your review is a renewal of our professional service with CloudPoint Geospatial for our GIS system. They've been working with us for a few years. Our contract expires in June, so we have a choice between renewing to $2,500 a month for a 3-year contract or $3,000 a month for a 2-year contract. And we sort of discussed going the $3,000 2-year contract route as our suggestion.
Can you remind us of exactly what the geospatial services is, or Director Super?
Yes, I can elaborate a little bit on it. So, as part of the village's infrastructure management system, we have what's called GIS, Geographic Information Services. It is a software platform where we handle all of the village's assets: water, sewer, forestry, facilities, a lot of those things, and it actually integrates in with our work order management system as well. CloudPoint is a firm, a consultant that we use. They help us build some of the tools we use inside that. So, for example, they were very integral in the capital plan that we did in coordination with Baxter and Woodman. Their staff helped build the actual GIS tool that we used for developing the calculations for some of that planning. In addition, they were also instrumental for the stormwater utility that the village did and getting that data and the platform set up for that for both our staff and as well as calculating those impervious areas. So part of that is all part of this contract. They also help us keep track of all of the other data that we have in this system. And we don't have any dedicated staff that have any GIS training besides myself. So we really rely on them to help keep our information up to date and modernize it. And whenever we have updates for both the software but also infrastructure, they help us update that as well.
And I'm sorry, I said the wrong number. We were recommending a 3-year contract at $2,800 per month.
Okay, I was gonna ask, I was like, if it's so useful, okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, and thank you. So then we would move that onto the omnibus.
Omnibus.
Okay.
Do I make that like a?
No.
No. Next up is a proposal for a flooring replacement. We had 5 bids come in, and DeSitter came in. Our staff felt they were the most responsive and the cheapest. So we are replacing floors. 5 places. Are there new floors?
There's 3 locations that the
3
floors are being
locations.
replaced in, yes.
So they came in at $18,500, and even the next lowest bid below that was 27 plus. So we're recommending that we go with DeSitter.
Okay. Very good.
Any other questions there? And then when we moved, when the 294 was being done, we had to move. I think we've talked about this before. We had to move our underground fuel tank things, so now they're above ground and in the corner, and we're proposing putting a weather protective kind of, it's not a tent, but canopy over it.
It is a canopy system.
To help, keep everything safe from the elements. So we are suggesting that we go ahead and continue that. And do we have, I don't have the price on that.
It's in the memo. There's 2 components to it. There's the reconstruction and replacement of the village's salt dome that holds our salt for winter operations, and then the material storage bins, which holds stone, dirt, sand, that sort of stuff. The total price for those 2 proposals is $151,082.74. The village did budget $200,000 for that project this year.
So these aren't enclosed, they're just a canopy?
Yes, there's no front door on these. It's just a canopy over that covers the top of it. And it's really part of what we're trying to do is part of our NPDS permit. It's highly recommended as a best practice to encompass all of these materials. That way we don't have silt and sediment that would run off into the storm sewer and then into like neighboring waterways.
That one is showing the picture.
Did it go out to bid already? Or?
So this is actually part of the Sourcewell joint purchasing
right.
co-op. So these prices were bid. The documentation, there's about 100-something pages of backing documentation in the packet.
Yes.
It was actually bid, I believe, in the state of Minnesota.
I'm like, I'm still scrolling for
Yes,
the price.
so it was actually a low bid process that another agency did.
Oh,
And then
okay.
as part of the purchasing co-op, we get those competitive bid prices that we can utilize.
Oh, great.
Page 171.
171.
171.
71.
Oh, wow.
You're proposing that
Quite a
we
canopy.
continue with this lovely canopy.
Are we gonna pass it? Or are we gonna move it? I don't know, anybody.
And I have no other business outside of that.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, and thank you, Director Supert. All right. Public Health and Safety, Trustee Lewis.
Thank you, President Rudolph. I have not one, but 2 proclamations for us this evening.
Okay.
The first is regarding National Police Week. Whereas, in 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation which designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which that date falls as Police Week. And whereas National Police Week is a collaborative effort of many organizations dedicated to honoring America's law enforcement community, and whereas every day law enforcement officers throughout the nation face the threat of violence and danger, routinely putting their lives in jeopardy to defend others, putting themselves at risk of injury, disability, or even death. And whereas we rely on law enforcement officers to keep our neighborhoods safe, enforce laws, and respond to times of crisis. And whereas law enforcement officers engage with and serve the public in the most varied and wide-ranging manner, and their efforts do not go unnoticed. And whereas we recognize and honor the selfless and heroic services provided by law enforcement officers. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Western Springs proclaims the week of May 15th to 21st, 2024 as Police Week. And we encourage the community to observe the week and join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities and have preserved the rights and security of all citizens.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Next up?
Nope.
Next up is a proclamation recognizing Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas the emergency medical services system consists of emergency physicians, emergency nurses, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, and others, and whereas the members of the emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of each of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Western Springs proclaims the week of May 19th through 25th, 2024 as EMS Week. And this is also the 50th anniversary of National EMS Week. And we encourage the community to observe this week and commend the devotion, contributions, and services of members of Emergency Medical Services Team.
Fantastic for both of us. We're fortunate to have the competent and caring teams that we have here, so
Yes, we are.
fantastic. Thank you.
Moving on.
Yep.
And lastly, in another business, as we have previously discussed, Chief Kelly is planning to have the fire department participate in the Lyons Township Summer Intern Program. The township will pay the intern, but the fire department will supervise the individual and assigned task. We need an intergovernmental agreement with Lyons Township to make this happen. And the proposed agreement has been reviewed by Attorney Jerusik, is included in our board packet tonight, and is ready for our approval tonight also. That concludes my report.
Okay, very good. And we will move on to that approval later then. Great. Thank you very much. Okay, our last committee update and report out would be Trustee Fink with Public Works and Water.
All right, thank you. So the first item is the Hampton resurfacing project. So this is resurfacing Hampton from Ogden to Hillgrove. So this has been a long process. They applied for a grant in 2022 to resurface this, and they did not receive the grant, but were placed on a contingency list. And then last year, we were told that if it was shovel-ready, we'd have a more likely chance to get the grant. And so Baxter Woodman completed the engineering for that. Well, this year we got the grant. Fantastic. So it's an 80%, 20% grant. So the grant will pay approximately $925,000, and the village portion will be $231,200. And this has been budgeted for. And because this is an IDOT thing, we have to follow the IDOT procedures of how it's going to happen. So first, we had need a request for qualifications for engineering. So they formed a team, and they found the most qualified engineer was V3 Engineering. So the things we need, we're recommending to an engineering agreement with V3 not to exceed $123,602. And again, this will be paid for by the grant, so the village portions will only be $24,800. So of our three kind of sub-resolutions, the first one, the MFT resolution, BLR 09110, is just approval to use MFT money to pay for this. And then the other two agreements are agreements with V3 to complete the engineering. So we'd like to add that to the omnibus next 2 weeks. Any questions?
I did have one living over in that area. When will this construction start, and how far south of Ogden will it begin? The reason why I ask that is because, especially now with the traffic light, there's an enormous number of people making a quick right onto Hampton. And I wouldn't want them to run into a truck that's sitting there Do we know when this will start and how far north, how far south of Ogden? Do we know that?
That was 2025.
Oh, 2025.
I didn't mean to steal anyone's thunder.
I can expand a little bit. So the project is currently scheduled to start in June of next year. We originally had hoped to do it this fall, but due to an issue with IDOT, it didn't work out. However, we were able to settle on June, which coincides with the dismissal of students from Laidlaw, so the work will be planned during the summer. As far as the specific question on the project, it'll essentially stop. If you head out there, you'll notice about 50 feet south of Ogden, there's a joint in the pavement. That's where IDOT resurfaced Ogden about 2 years ago. So we'll match that joint.
South?
Yes, correct. So we won't be in the intersection itself, but there will be times when there'll be vehicles and construction equipment that'll be a little busy, but the scope of work being resurfacing, that disruption tends to limit itself. They're not there all day typically working on stuff. So.
And if they'll be blocked, will it be impassable?
They'll have to provide traffic control to make sure things are moving safely, and that's a good point and something that we'll emphasize when we get to construction.
Put signs on the
Keep an eye on it. Yeah, there'll be
east and then
road construction signs ahead. There'll be, I think we have changeable message boards as well, so people will know it's there. Hopefully they'll avoid it, but I do know it's a heavily traveled roadway, so.
getting heavier.
Absolutely.
And it'll go down to the tracks?
Correct, Hillgrove.
So that also is with the pool and the rec center and everything.
Right.
So we would have to have quite a bit of just the traffic management.
Yep.
during that,
How long will this last?
It's planned for approximately 2 months with landscaping work to be done later. That's fall when weather's cooler, but essentially June to August.
So avoiding the school year, but of course coinciding with outdoor activities and things. But I think grateful to get this grant and to have this covered at such a significant dollar amount.
Absolutely. Thank you.
The next item is the production meter, meter replacement. So the meters on well 3 and 4 have reached their life and need to be replaced. So $20,000 per meter has been budgeted. And so we're recommending to waive the bidding process and instead try and get proposals from plumbers and other construction companies because it's going to be a little unique and we might need to be more creative of how we're going to hook the meters up depending on the meters. Any questions on that one? So the next item is vehicle surplus. Since we have 2 replacement trucks that arrived, we'd like to recommend placing the 1999 Oshkosh heavy-duty dump truck and the 2008 Ford F-350 heavy-duty pickup truck as surplus. And the last item is we're recommending to accept the bid from Narduli Construction, who is the lowest bidder for sidewalk replacement, not to exceed $1,110. And that's all I have.
So those will all go on the omnibus?
Yes, please.
Okay. Any other questions?
$1,000?
No, sorry, $110,000.
Okay, that's what I
It'd
thought.
be a nice bargain.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, very good. Then that concludes our committee reports. Now we are going to move on to, we do have an omnibus vote tonight with respect to that intergovernmental agreement. I believe Trustee Terrell, you're going to read that? Or
Sorry, just one clarification. Is it an omnibus or a roll call? Just wanted to be sure.
It's only one voting item. It's on the omnibus. So we can just treat it as an omnibus. We'll have all the present board members vote on it.
As well as President Rudolph?
It's listed as an omnibus, so yes.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Just wanted to be sure.
Okay, so, okay, Trustee Lewis then?
All right. I move to adopt resolution number 24-2802, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Western Springs and Township of Lyons regarding village participation in the township's internship program.
And may we have the roll call vote, please?
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apologies. Wow, procedural issues. Thank you. Now how about a roll call?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Vakian?
Aye.
Trustee Chen?
Aye.
Trustee Fink?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Naraki is absent. Trustee Terrell?
Aye.
President Rudolph.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Very good, thank you very much. All right, moving on then to reports. I do not have a report tonight. Village Manager Bear?
I just have two short items. The Village of Western Springs is in the process of updating its adopted building code and amendments. Village staff, including Director Malone, will host an open house on Friday, May 10th. That's coming up very quickly here at 3 p.m. here at the Village Hall to discuss the proposed changes. It is anticipated that the updated codes and local amendments will be considered by the Village Board this summer. So if we have individuals in the community, people who do business here, who would like to come and talk to the staff about the building codes, Friday, May 10th. The open house information is all on our website, and certainly all are welcome. And the second thing I wanted to mention today is that Cook County is working on their multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. It's the Department of Emergency Management and Regional Security, and they are hosting 3 public information and planning sessions to gather input from Cook County residents regarding potential natural hazards and disasters that could impact the county. These listening sessions and community sessions are open to anyone who lives in Cook County, and we have something on our Facebook page. We will have, I think we do have something in our newsflash section on the website. There's a QR code that even if you can't make it to the listening sessions, you could fill out a survey for them, and they really welcome any input that you have. They have been working with our staff, both our fire and police departments, as well as Director Supert and his team have been working with them to give feedback on Western Springs and what we see as potential hazards that would need to be mitigated. But residents may have individual input they'd like to give. So that information is also on our website. That's all I have.
Very good, thank you, good stuff. Attorney Jurusik?
No further report tonight.
All right, to our scouts and troop, any questions you'd like to ask? Sorry to put you on the spot, but you're welcome to ask questions of anything you heard tonight.
I should mention that as part of they're all working on their citizenship and community merit badge, and there's other requirements for each of them to be out of community service, and they also are responsible for contacting someone in city government to talk about an issue that's important to them. So some of you may be getting further communication with them later.
All right. I'm sure all of us, as well as our directors back here, would welcome the inquiry and the ability to talk more. So thanks very much for being here. Okay, with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I'd have a motion to adjourn tonight's combined workshop and special meeting of the President and Board of Trustees.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. We are adjourned. Thank you.